Welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of Tavern Talk. This series is going to be my Sunday morning coffee show where I take a look at the week's medieval fantasy and sci-fi headlines that didn't need a standalone video in their own right. With that, let's get started, and we start with Wheel of Time and a little bit of controversy. Spoiler alert for Season 2, so you've been warned. Brandon Sanderson is a very celebrated fantasy writer who was asked to finish the Wheel of Time series after its original author Robert Jordan died unexpectedly. In addition to writing the final 3 books in the series, he's also a paid consultant for Amazon in the television adaptation. Well, Mr. Sanderson recently joined a Wheel of Time dedicated YouTube channel called The Dusty Wheel for a Season 2 finale watch party. And, well, he had unexpectedly blunt and honest criticism of what he saw. If you follow my channel, you know this isn't the first time Mr. Sanderson has had criticism for the series, but in the past he's always been judicious and political with his criticisms. His biggest criticism was the storyline of Moiraine struggling with losing her powers and then getting them back. And there are very good reasons for this criticism. Later in the story, losing their powers becomes a very serious issue and is done on a larger scale. By unnecessarily forcing that element into the story now and with just her, you've reduced its future impact and diminished its importance. I say forcing it in because in the source material, Moiraine doesn't have much of an impact in Book 2. Rather, that book is dedicated to developing other characters. This leads back to the main criticism book fans have of the adaptation, that the core characters in the series were being underdeveloped, while others were being artificially inflated. I'll even take it a step further though. Many people, including myself, have noted that every character who has been diminished is male, despite those characters being the very essence of the franchise. Conversely, every character who's been artificially inflated, although important in their own right, has been female. Although Mr. Sanderson never made this connection, and I certainly don't want to imply he feels this way, look at the other criticisms he had for Season 2 as well. He specifically mentions the show ignoring the arc of Rand becoming a capable swordsman. Without that, we've lost the connection to Rand's past and his father as a blade master and have no proper grounding for events that are yet to come. Rand is literally the main character of the series, but taking time away from that to discuss Moiraine dealing with something that she doesn't even deal with in this book was somehow more important. As Mr. Sanderson continues, he talks about the general lack of character arcs and themes, but then specifically mentions both Mat and Perrin. Mat's weapon origin story has been completely discarded in nonsensical fashion, and Perrin's character arc has essentially been merged with Mat's, thus diminishing both characters. My words, not his. Now, if I thought these were just writing choices, then we'd be having a different conversation entirely. But we know that Amazon has rules about female characters and female narratives and perspectives. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. In fact, Amazon should be out there making sure that all voices are heard from. But the goal should be finding new stories to tell that relate those perspectives, instead of forcing those narratives on existing franchises and thereby destroying the core elements of the IP. Remember that the underdevelopment of the main character Rand and his 2 companions Mat and Perrin were the primary criticism of Season 1, and here we are at the end of Season 2 talking about the same thing. Anyway, those are my 2 cents regarding that issue. I'd be interested in hearing what you think in the comments section below. On a lighter note, Constantine 2 starring Keanu Reeves has finally entered production. The movie business is obviously complicated, but I'm honestly surprised this took this long. The first movie wasn't overwhelmingly successful, but it was profitable, which is something that studios often struggle with these days. And the only indispensable part of a sequel is Keanu himself, and he's been asking to do this project for the better part of 20 years. Furthermore, as it stands now, original director Francis Lawrence is on board to return as well. Now, it should be made clear that this is apparently very early stages of production, and talks of this project have come and gone many times in the past to no avail, but to my knowledge, this is the first time that it's ever officially entered production. With both Keanu and the original director on board, my biggest concern is actually the budget. Superhero movies have struggled at the box office lately, and DC has persistently played a distant second to Marvel regardless. both trends look to continue. So let's hope Warner Brothers is willing to open up its pockets and give the production the money it needs. Now, moving on to even more good news, we have an update on that Henry Cavill Highlander reboot. Earlier this week, we made a shorts video about how Henry Cavill and Highlander director Chad Stahelski were attached to the project. Furthermore, in an appearance on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Mr. Stahelski implied that he wasn't just looking for a one-off. In fact, he wanted to turn it into an entire universe of different productions. Now, thanks to Deadline, we have even more updated information. Production is scheduled to start in 2024. They have a very legitimate budget north of $100 million, and it's going to be based on the 1986 original movie, not the moderately successful television series starring Adrian Paul. Because it's been almost 40 years, there are probably a lot of people not familiar with this IP. The original film released in the mid-80s with a solid concept and excellent musical accompaniment by Queen and a co-starring role from Sean Connery. Many of the elements were there to build something special, but the writing was a mess and it never gained anything more than a cult following. Despite its shortcomings, the overall concept and theming scratched the itch for enough people that it had 4 movie sequels and 3 television shows. All of these efforts were mediocre at best, and none ever grabbed the imagination of the mainstream. However, the Canadian television series starring Adrian Paul did find some moderate success. Although it's failed repeatedly in the past, I do believe with the right production quality, this IP does have legs. I just hope they keep the old school Queen musical accompaniment. Finally, to wrap up the reboot train, we have Battlestar Galactica. Although I am excited about this, I only made a short video because to this point there's not that much to tell. A couple of tidbits I did learn that I did not know before yesterday is there will be apparently both movies and a television series, as well as the TV series will be based off the more recent Edward James Olmos Battlestar Galactica, not the one from the 70s starring Lauren Green and Richard Hatch. The most important note, though, is that this project survived the writer's strike, which was by no means a foregone conclusion. Okay, enough about projects that are several years away. Let's talk about something that's right around the corner. Recently, on their Instagram account, Fallout on Prime appears to have announced their release date of April 2024. I say appears because the short video was rather cryptic. It simply shows Vault Boy typing on a computer as they slowly reveal the date of April the 12th, 2024. Well, everybody, that's it for me this week. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you next time.